KWT slaying.
Salama family, Salama. How y'all doing today? I had it on mute. Usually when I play my intro, it unmutes automatically. So if you can hear me now, please put one. And if you're listening after the live show, please do not hit one. Okay. So if you can hear me, hit one, family. Great. So family, I would like for us to pray for the family of Jonathan Price. Recently, he was killed by another race soldier. So pray for his family. As we mentioned to you all in a lot of our prophecy teachings, that this would occur and it will increase with intensity, but the Most High is going to deliver us out of it. Okay. So I'm seeing right now a 1 and an echo. Are you all hearing an echo? If you're hearing an echo, say yes. If you're not, say no. Because I'm in a different location today. So I'm not sure how it sounds right now. Okay, no. Great. So one thing I want to do is talk to the moderators. So look, if you have people in here who's telling us that, America's our home, please block them. Don't put them on pause. If they're in this room and they're saying we're from America and this is our homeland, please block them. Not put them on timeout, block them. I cannot deal with the foolishness, okay? I mean, if that's what they want to believe, then why are they on this channel? If that's what they want to believe, then why are they here, okay? So please block them. Not timeout, but block. Okay, so here's the thing. One thing we need to understand, family, because this is a topic here that requires a lot of research, right? And it requires both a lot of biblical research. It requires a lot of historical research. It requires looking at maps. It requires you trying to understand what happened in the Bible and what was happening in the Bible. So one thing I did was I created a playlist called Is Sub-Saharan Africa Israel? So, you all who come upon this later will try to see my reasoning for this, right? So be honest with your family. I'm like 99% convinced, okay? And I'm going to explain why. Now, whether or not Kalahari is where Jerusalem is, I think it's a strong possibility with Kalahari being where Jerusalem is, but I don't have enough evidence for that. But is Sub-Saharan Africa the true land of Israel? In my opinion, is yes. Okay. So let's get this started, family. So one thing I'm gonna want you all to do, you don't have to do it now, but a lot of this information has been shared, right, on Hebrew Sphere. So if you haven't registered or signed up at Hebrew Sphere, please do so. It's free. Okay. And Karis, brother Karis, can you give them the link to Hebrew Sphere, please? I appreciate it, brother. All right. So let's get started. So in Hebrew Sphere, we have this thread that I created, and there's several people, including myself, who has been sharing information about whether or not Africa is our land, whether or not Africa is Israel. And so what we need to do is, go back and look at some of this information. That's why we did it, so that it's there for whenever you want to see it, whenever you need to go back and find references for this information. Hopefully it will be there. I'm not saying everything is going to be there, but hopefully it's going to be there. So, you'll see this discussion in the Tail Ministries group on Hebrew Sphere, right? You go to groups, and then in groups, you're going to see a tab called discussions. And in discussions, it talks about listing evidence for, the land being that Africa is Israel. Africa is Israel. Now, one thing I want to explain before we get started here, we got to move to the idea of Israel being a people. Okay. Israel is a people. It was not a land mass, so to speak, like in modern Israel, right? Like right now, you fly to the nation of Israel, right? Which is a small little territory out there in the Middle East. Israel, even in the scripture, is synonymous a lot of times with the land. Why? Because Israel is really the people. So we need to understand that the Most High has allocated certain parts of the landmass in Africa, which is, in our opinion, Sub-Saharan, right, to Israel. Okay, so let's look at this right here. Now, this brother here, Sevion Dean, I mean, he's invaluable. Okay, I mean, he has given me some stuff that I never would have found. And like I said, all of this is being, put there for you, for everyone to go and look at. So let's look at Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. And I'm going to start from the beginning of this thread, but I wanted to start here for a reason. Okay, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought vessels into treasure houses of his God. Okay, as you see here, it says in the Greek Septuagint, Shinar is known as Sinar, right? Sinar is shown in Sudan maps. So one thing I want to show you is that is a fact, right? So let's go there right quick, because we're going to have to build a case. See, this is how you do it, right? You have to build a case, family, on what you believe, right? Because sometimes, if you just dump a bunch of information on people, they're going to get lost in it. Okay, they're going to get lost in it. So let's see here. All right, there we go. All right, so look at this right quick, family. Okay, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave into his hand Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the part of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them into the land of Shinar. So we saw, right, that Shinar and Sinar are the same. Okay, now the Septuagint spells it Sennaar, Okay, take note of that, right? So we're going to go back to our discussions. Okay, so here we see there's a Sinar in Sudan. Now, in the older maps, we're going to see the same thing. All right, let's see. Okay, here's an older map, which is the same area. This is in Sudan. See Meroe right there? Meroe is over there in Sudan, right? So this is over there where the little small pyramids are in Sudan, if you know where that's at. So this area here was called Sinar, just like we saw right in the Septuagint. And we saw in quote unquote modern text, it's called Shinar. Okay, and modern text is called Shinar. So we know that Sinar and Shinar are the same based upon what we saw in the text. Okay, so here we go again. Sinar, right? Sinar. Sinar is synonymous with Shinar. Okay, and we see here that it is in Africa. It is near Meroe. Okay, it's that whole territory. Now, let's go and look at what they tell us is modern Shinar or Sinar. See, these people lie all the time. They lie all the time. And this is what I found out is that you really have to dig deep because the information is there, right? But they lie. They lie all the time. So now this is Shinar, which is the same as Sinar. Now this is where they state it is today, or where it was, Mesopotamia, right? And here you see Akkad, Babylon, Nippur, Babylonia, Erech, Ur. So I have a question, family. Question. Where did Abraham come out of? Where did Abraham come out of? That's the $1,000 question. There we go. Ur of the Chaldees, right? So Abraham came out of Ur, but yet here we see that Ur is where? In this area called Shinar. Now, according to modern scholarship, right? According to modern scholarship, this is Shinar, which is in Mesopotamia. Okay, but we saw that there's a Sinar or Shinar in Africa. Now, one thing I want to add, family, is remember, we have to paint a picture, or we have to put the pieces together, just like we do in prophecy. It's like any investigation you do, you got to take the little bits of pieces that you do have to build that picture, right? So like, you know, let's say you're Columbo and you're investigating a murder, you have to go and say, okay, talk to this person, talk to that person, get some information here, get some information there. And then what happens, you go and find out, okay, he's the one or she's the one that committed the murder. So if we're going to find out the truth, we got to put the pieces together. Now, how do we sort through the truth, right? Because we have the scriptures. Now, I'm going to say this, and, you know, just take it as a caveat. There, in my opinion, this is my opinion, there has been purposeful mistranslations of words in the scriptures. Like, for instance, as I mentioned in previous shows about them crossing the Red Sea. Well, the scriptures don't really say they crossed the Red Sea. And if you go look at the original word, it's the Reed Sea, right? Yam, and it's the word for reeds, like the Nile River, which has reeds, right? Which is what? In Africa. Okay. Now, there's some more to that, which I'm not going to really cover today. I might mention it, but just note that this is where they say Ur is today. So if we go with the assumption, if we go with the assumption that these maps that we were looking at are correct, let me go back to it. If we go with the assumption that the maps of Africa, which is Sinar, which is how it is spelled in the Septuagint, and remember the Septuagint is older, right? It's older than the Masoretic, right? So if this is the place, Shinar, then let me ask you a question. Is Abraham from Sudan? Was Abraham from the Sudan? See, here's the thing. Why would they have to move outside of Africa? Because if is in Africa and Abraham left and Shinar or Sinar is in Sudan, then we know what? That Abraham is a black man. And we know that the world, especially America, is run off of racism. It is run off of white supremacy. Okay, so this is just the beginning. Now, remember, we're building a case. We're building a case, okay? One step at a time. One step at a time. So now, remember, when you convict someone in court, right, you can convict them or find them guilty by a preponderance of the evidence. That's what we're going to do, right? We're going to take all the evidence we have. We're going to take what we have in the scriptures. We're going to take what we have in the old maps. We're going to take what we have in the old books, right? And we're going to bring all of this stuff together and see what makes sense. Like, for instance, we can't not forget the fact, okay, that the quote unquote land of Israel had 12 tribes living in it. Okay, which is why you have to understand the modern-ish people don't have the other 11 tribes or the quote-unquote lost 10 tribes. Why? Because the land that they're living in could never have held them. So let's assume, for argument's sake, that modern land, and I'm not just talking about the little strip, you can even include Arabia if you want. You can even include parts of Jordan if you want. But remember, it wasn't just the 12 tribes who had allocated land. Who was living amongst them? The Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, you know what I'm saying? All of the ites, the Jebusites. So Israel had to take this land from them and had to cross territories and fight other groups and ethnic groups and all that. How did that work in that area that they're in right now? Because it's somewhat confined. So you got to ask yourself these questions. It just doesn't work. Then you have to ask yourself the question, is that land there, was it ever milk and honey? Because some people are going to say, well, it's under judgment. Well, if it was under judgment, the Bible says that Jerusalem is under judgment and Jerusalem is desolate and the mountains of Jerusalem is desolate. Now, remember, according to the scriptures, the Jebusites lived in the mountains. They lived amongst Judah. And I showed you in one of my other shows that there are Jebusites today. They call Jebus, and they live where? With the Yoruba. Once again, we're going to take all these little pieces of the puzzles. We're going to add on top. We're not going to do like the people who say America is our homeland. They have no evidence, right? Now, the other thing we need to know is this. Okay, now there's a tributary that runs all the way up to Egypt, modern Egypt. But the true Nile is over there in the area of Sudan and Kenya. Now, the question is this. Did Moses' mother put him in that little tributary now, which is what leads into modern Egypt? Or did Moses' mother put him in the Nile that is over there in the Sudan? Because you got to understand, the territory that Egypt controlled, ancient Egypt, was greater than what they show you on those maps. Which is why you see pyramids in where? Meroe, which is an area that was controlled by Cushites, who was a descendant of Ham, who was Egypt's, Mesorites, I'm sorry, Mizraim, right, in Egypt, and they were family. So you got to ask yourself questions and say, okay, well, it looks like maybe what happened is that maybe, and we have a question mark, but we're going to build upon it. Maybe Moses' mother put him in the Nile in the Sudan. Because in my opinion, from what I see, the Egyptian territory went way down south, not just that little strip of land. And remember, Egypt was a huge empire. You wouldn't call it an empire if they just controlled that little territory that they have today. So let's continue. I want to share something else with you as we make this journey of intellectualism, because most people don't have it. Okay. And most people don't do the research. They listen to people that tell them, oh, America is our homeland. America is where we're from. Foolishness, foolishness, foolishness. All right. So, all right, family. So this is a book. It's called For Africa, containing what is of most use in Blow Varanius Celerius. Now, once again, I want to thank my boy Sevion for this information. All right, it says here, right? Kingdom of Medra, part of Negro land. What? The land of the Jews. The land of the Jews. Wait, what is the land of the Jews? Negro land. So what I want you to understand is this. You have a bunch of people who said the Jews lived in Africa. You have a bunch of people and a bunch of books that said this is the land of the Jews. Not that land in the Middle East, not what they call Palestine. This is the land of the Jews. And if you look at modern history is when people are attacked, people are persecuted and at war, they're going to flee. They're going to flee their towns and their homes, but they're going to stay within the vicinity. Some of them, they're not going to leave it completely, because one day they're going to plan on taking it back. So once again, we have people who are in Africa, right, who were known to be Jews. Now, today they have the traditions of Jews. They circumcise, right? They do libations, right? And not only do they circumcise on the 8th day, right? All of the rules about menstruation, right? They got all of those laws. So once again, we got all of these people who live in Africa who has these traditions. Now, remember the story, or not the story, but the fact that the Bible states that the land is a land of milk and honey, which says, and I showed you the scriptures before, they had no need for anything. It says that they had rivers, plural, running through the promised land. It says that they had waterfalls, our modern terminology, through the promised land. It says what? That they had minerals like copper and stuff in the promised land. It says that they had animals in the promised land. It stated all of these things. So we have people who have the traditions of being Jews. They're all over Africa. We have books that says that Negro land is the land of the Jews. So they didn't call it Israel. The people were known as Israel. The people were known as Jews. This is the land of the Jews. Now, like I said, you're not going to come to the conclusion that I have without doing the research, right? You're not going to come to the conclusion. So once again, remember, we're putting in all the different evidences, from the scriptures to history books to what we know the Bible says happened during the times of the patriarchs and Abraham and everybody, right? We're putting all of these pieces together. Now, Job chapter 3, verses 1 through 2 states, in those days and at that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem, I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There I will put them on trial for what they did to my inheritance, like Jonathan Price, my people Israel, because they scattered my people among the nations and what? Divided up my land. Okay, I used to ask myself, right, when I thought that Middle East area was our land, I said, when was that land ever parted? When was that divided up amongst anybody? I can't see that in history, but I saw it in Africa. See, we need to put the pieces together. And the questions that you still have, you need to go and find out why is that contrary to, because maybe your thought process is a little different than historical facts and biblical facts. Not only that, maybe your understanding of certain words is incorrect. Because I found that to be the case as well, because when things were translated from our language into the Greek and all these other stuff, right? They purposefully misinterpreted it, or by accident misinterpreted. And, you know, we've come to the conclusion that there was a conspiracy, Psalm 83. But let me continue. The Berlin Conference, also known as the Congo Conference or West Africa Conference, regulated the European colonialization and trade in Africa during the new imperialism period and coincided with Germany's sudden emergence as an imperial power. Let me rephrase that, family. They took our land. They parted our land, Joel chapter 3. So we have a fulfillment of prophecy right here in Africa, not in that Middle East area that they call Israel. Okay. So the question is going to be this. The question is going to be this. Is this blurry for y'all or not? Family, is this blurry? Yes or no? Is this blurry? Okay, no. Great. Okay, so we got a fulfillment of prophecy here, right? So what do we have here, family? We got a people who say they are Jews, who have the traditions of Jews, right? We got a people who fits all of the prophecies, living in Africa, have been there for as long as people can remember, right? We have a land that they live in that says that it's milk and honey. They got all the gold, they got all the silver, they got all of the manganese, they got everything. And not only that, are the nations fighting for the Middle East, or is the nations fighting for Africa? Come on. We know the scripture says they come in what? Against the land of Israel. Why? To take silver, gold, everything, right? According to Ezekiel 38. So let's continue. And it's one of those studies, family, that take a long time, really, because you got to understand that, when you're deconstructing a lie that has been over 1,000 years at least, ever, in my opinion, since the time of Emperor Hadrian, it's going to take time. And that's why I'm saying, unlike the people who believe, I'm sure most of you all are more intelligent than to believe that America is our homeland, which doesn't even fit the prophecies. How America going to be your homeland when you're captive in your homeland? That don't make no sense. You were scattered to your homeland as a slave, and you're going to be brought back from your homeland back to your homeland. I'm like, come on, please. I can't deal with some of y'all. But anyway, let me continue. All right, so we're going to come back here, and what I want to do is we're going to go through some of the conversations and information that we have. Remember, this is in the Tail Ministries group at Hebrew Sphere. Go join it. You can look at all of this yourself if you want the links and everything. Okay, so I said find cities and provinces in Africa with some type of biblical name. They can also be rivers, pools, mountains, and people groups. Okay, so Edo Island. Okay, Edo Island. Edo Island is a district in Lagos mainland, Lagos. Opposite Lagos Island. Edo used to be an island, but due to landfill, is now part of the rest of Lagos mainland. Now, this is an island in Africa. Now, the reason why I'm showing this, because here's the thing, family. Here's the thing. None of this evidence is going to stand alone. None of it is going to stand alone. Okay? So we got to understand it, we got to build the case. If you're looking for who the people are, if you're trying to research how far they lied, right? Then what do? You have to dig and break it apart and put the truth together. Okay, so First Kings, Aminadab, son of Edo. Now we saw in Africa there's a place called Edo land. Now some people want to say, and you know, I've done it in the beginning when I first started looking into this, when Truth Unveiled did his stuff. I was saying, well, you know, maybe the colonizers just was naming some of, you know, a lot of these places after biblical places. But over time, when you start putting all the evidence together, no, these are the names and were the names before the colonizers came. Okay, so we need to understand that when we're dealing with evidence, we gotta take the pieces and put them back together again, right? Joah, his son, Edo, his son. Okay, so we saw Edo Island, right? Like I said, nothing stands alone. We build and build till we get to the truth. Edo Island. Okay, so my question is, family, when does coincidence stop being coincidence? Anybody? When does coincidence stop being coincidence? Now, here's from Will. He says, here's a few maps showing Babylon near the Nile River. Interesting thing is that it's mapped in modern day Egypt. And in some, they're showing Egypt below Babylon. Okay. So here's one of the maps. Okay. Babylon. Right. Now, remember, we have Edo here as well. Now, make sure you write things down, family. You know, because like I said, when does it stop being coincidence? When does it stop being coincidence? So we got Babylon here in Africa, right? So when we look at these, right, we got to look closely. Let's see. I saw this one earlier. Anyway, y'all can look at this one. But anyway, look at these maps, family. My eyes aren't as good as they used to. But anyway, so what do we have? What do we have? So we have one for sure we can see clearly was Babylon, right? And there's in these maps they are, but you got to go and look close. My eyes aren't that great. But once again, when does coincidence stop being coincidence? So we're going to continue. So there's a lot of things, and y'all can look at the conversation that was being had, right? So I like this one. He has it circled, right? Biblical locations in Africa, Bethlehem, right? Solomon's. I'm going to show you something else on that as we continue as well. Bethany, Beersheba, Hebron, Bethesda, all in Africa. So you either tell me that the colonizers went around and decided to start naming these places after biblical names in a location where people who claim to be Jews have been living for centuries, who have the traditions of the Jews as well. We're building the case. We're building the case. Remember, go to Hebrew Sphere. You can go through all of this because all the evidence is there. Now, here's one I found called the Pool of Siloam. Siloam is a hot spring. Metagenomic analysis of bacterial diversity of Siloam, hot water spring, Limpopo, South Africa. When does coincidence stop being coincidence? So you know why this is important, right? Because hot springs that have good bacteria, right, is good for health. What happened at the pool of Siloam? I know some people are gonna say, "Well, you're pulling your Cobra, you're pulling." I'm building. I'm building. Jericho. Jericho is a village in Bojanala Platinum District in Northwest Province of South Africa. When does coincidence stop being coincidence? Nazareth. Discover Nazareth in Gabon. Nazareth in the region of Moyen Ogu is a town located in Gabon. When does coincidence stop being coincidence? How much evidence do we need to have before we start saying something's wrong, something's different, what's going on? Oh my goodness, we even have a Gaza. Gaza, where is this place? The Gaza province is in southern Mozambique and featured in the Zai and borders where? South Africa. When does coincidence stop being coincidence? See, my case, family, is that Africa is our land. It is the land of milk and honey, which is why Africa is being invaded by Americans, Europeans, Asians. Why? Because it's wealthy. Let me see if this image, no, it looked like that link got broken. But there's a Hebron as well, family. There's a Hebron, but my link is broken. But there's a Hebron where? In Africa. Oh, that's a coincidence too. Mamre. Mamre is a small rural town in Western Cape province of South Africa. I know some of you all don't know where Mamre is. I know. I thought I had the scripture there. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick. Pull it up for you. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord. Now, the link that I have for Hebron was broken, but you can go and search. I think it's somewhere else in that thread as well, right? And if I do, I'll bring it up. But where was Mamre? Near Hebron. There's a Hebron in South Africa. There's a Mamre in South Africa. There's a Gaza in South Africa. When does coincidence stop being coincident? Jordan River. I've showed this one before. Let's see. Can you see that, family? What are the odds? There's a Jordan River in Africa. Where? Near South Africa. And all throughout Africa. When does coincidence stop being coincident? Make sure y'all can see that. I hope y'all can see that. All right, so I shouldn't have closed that out. Let me go back. Here's the link. You can check it out. There's a Canaan land. Where? in Africa. As I mentioned, there's a Gaza. Now, here's what Sevion posted. Alexandria, which is known as Gomorrah among local residents. Alexandria, informally abbreviated to Alex, is a township in the Gauteng province of South Africa. It forms part of the city of Johannesburg Metropolitan Municipality and is located near the upper-class suburb of Sandton. Alexandria is bounded by Wyburg on the west, Marlborough and Kelvin on the north, Kew, Lombardy west, and Lombardy east on the south. It is commonly known as Gomorrah. This is another coincidence. Solomon's Wall in Botswana. Just another biblical location, another biblical name, just all throughout Africa. Why? Because if you listen to the modern scholars, right, they never knew anything about Africa. Africa had no civilizations. Africa had no cities. Africa had no empires, according to some of those historians. Africans ain't do nothing. But see, that's the problem I had with us using the word African. Because African denotes a continent, and you got different people groups in that continent. And some of those people were Israelites. Ooh, look at this. Lesotho's cave, Nehemiah's cave in Lesotho. This is called Nehemiah's cave. Just a coincidence. We went through this one already with Shinar. Okay. Here's other maps with Babylon in it. In Africa, near Egypt. Here's one with the location of the Tigris. In Africa, near Ethiopia, which is Abyssinia, the old name of it. Tigris means tiger in English. We see Tigre, which is Spanish version of Tigris River in Ethiopia. So you think they took a people from their land. Why? According to the scriptures, to move them far away from their land. Why? So that they can't come back. Why? So they can try to take it. So they hid you from the world. They changed your name, changed your vocabulary, and they're not going to change some of the maps locations. They're not going to try to misdirect you. I mean, we already know that Emperor Hadrian created a Jerusalem so that the Israelites wouldn't be able to find it. I believe that's that place called Palestine, which is what they call Israel. Emperor Hadrian's Jerusalem. So there's a Zoar where? In Africa. Genesis 14:8, and there went out the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah and the king of Admah and the king of Zeboam and the king of Bela. The same is Zoar, and they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim. Zoar, Western Cape. Now, remember, what really made me like fully convinced of this was when I went to Matthew 15, right? And in Matthew 15, it talks about the Lord. He went and caught a ship and went to Magdala. So he took a ship where? In the Sea of Galilee to go to Magdala. When he went to Magdala, right? Magdala is where Mary Magdalene was from. Now, if we look at the modern map, the Sea of Galilee is a huge lake. Magdala is on the tip of that lake. So I was like, okay, well, how did he take a ship? How did he take a ship in a landlocked country on a big lake to get to Magdala? That's landlocked. I don't get it. That don't make no sense. That was enough for me. Somebody was lying. So you dig and continue to dig. And when other family members start adding to it, because we can't find this all by ourselves, but we got enough for us to do the research and dig and tie this together. And we can say, you know what? Something's not right. See, Israel, the true Israel, is where the people are. The true Israel is where the land was given to the 12 tribes, which was in Africa, which is why you have all of these people in Africa. Let me see, I had some things open. Did it close? I think it must have closed before. So there's some other things that I want to share. Okay. Let me, oh yeah, that's right. I still have it in here. Let me go back. I have to go down to it. Because look, family, I mean, let's see. I'm already 46 minutes in, and I'm not even halfway through this. But I'm going to go down. I'm going to show you something as well. And we'll continue a little bit. But remember, we talked about Gomorrah. Let's see. Let's pull this down. Let's see. I think I'm trying to find something I posted last night. I'm not finding it. Hold on, family. I must have lost it. It's not here. I can pull it up right quick. But anyway, we're going to continue up where we were and go down a little bit more. And I'm going to show you some other stuff. Okay, let's see. So family, in order to, go through all this information, you're going to have to come to this site and look at it, right? Because there's just so much. And let's see. All right. All right. So there's a Sodom as well. And so there's a Gomorrah and there's a Sodom in South Africa. Learning on your way to learning, as someone said. Let's see. Yeah, the one I really want to show you. Okay, well, this is important too, but there's so much important stuff. I'm gonna see if I can find another thing I wanted to show you as well, because I could go on all night. Genesis 19:26, and Lot's wife looked back, and she was turned into an image of salt. Right? We see that Lot's wife turned into salt after looking back, and when we look at the name of the crater, it is called Salt. So we got Sodom, Gomorrah, and Salt. So here, Zaire is in Congo, 2 Kings 8:21. So Joram went over to Zaire, and all the chariots with him, and he rose by night and smote the Edomites, which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots, and the people fled into their tents. Map of Zaire in the Congo. Once again, When does coincidence stop being coincidence? When does coincidence stop being coincidence? So one thing, I'm gonna mention this instead of going pull it up, but I don't know what happened to the post I did last night. Looked like it probably didn't save, but in the scriptures you will see that there is Merari, who was a Levite, and he had two sons. One was called Mushi, right, and the other was called Mali. Now everyone knows about Mali, right? The nation of Mali in Africa. So we have another Israelite name there. Now, there's also a Mushi or a Moshi, M-O-S-H-I. Remember, we're dealing with translations and transliterations, right? There's a Moshi in where? Tanzania. So over and over and over and over and over and over again, we have biblical names of cities, people groups, right? Landmarks, you name it. See, Israel is Africa. The real Israel is Sub-Saharan Africa. That is the real Israel, not that little land over there. Now remember, here's the thing. You also got to use your cabeza and ask these types of questions of all of these wars that were being fought against these different nations of people in the scriptures, which was in or near the promised land. How does that even work in the quote unquote Middle East? You don't have enough of those people groups that the Bible mentions that could fit even in Arabia, Israel, or parts of Jordan, because they say it's only parts if they were to get some of that territory, right? Now, for you people who believe America is our homeland, where are your biblically based names? Where are your biblically based people groups? Where are your traditions of biblically based people and the rivers and the fountains of waters and Egypt and all of the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Canaanites? Where are they in America? That's what I want to know. See, it's foolishness. I just don't understand people sometimes. You either don't know your Bible or you're COINTELPRO. That's all I'm saying. I mean, because some of y'all I think must be COINTELPRO, because I think a kindergarten can see that our land is Africa. The land of milk and honey is Africa. Agag in Congo, Numbers 24:7. He shall pour the water out of his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters, and his king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. Remember, all of this stuff was happening where? In the land of Israel, in the promised land, right? Maps of Agag in the Congo. I'm going to use the other map because this one is harder to find. Let's go down. Oh, what happened here? Hold on, family. All right. So y'all going to have to come and look at these maps. It's hard finding them after you looked at them a long time ago and then trying to find out where they were again. Let's see if we can find that. And also, you can see some of these in Truth Unveil's videos as well. It's up in here somewhere, but you're going to have to look at the maps, family. Let's see. All right, so on this map, we see Agag. You can see that one clear, right? With the arrows. Agag, Agag. So there's one more thing. I mean, like, oh my goodness. One more thing I want to show you, and because like I said, I can go all night, but I mean, this one, let me see if I can find it. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah. Okay, this is the one dealing with Gibeon, right? So there's a place in Africa, South Africa, called Gibeon. And this is the Gibeon Meteor that fell in prehistoric times in Namibia, right? So in South Africa, in these areas, there's all of these locations with biblically based names. Now, what we need to do, let's see, where is it? Okay, here we go. So this is Joshua 10 through 11. So the Lord routed them before Israel, killed them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, chased them along the road that goes to Beth Horon, and struck them down as far as Eska and Makda. And it happened as they fled before Israel and were on the descent of Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down large hailstones, meteorites from heaven on them as far as Eska, and they died. There were more who died from the hailstones than children of Israel killed with the sword. Now, family, look at this. This is where? In Gibeon. There's a Gibeon where? In Namibia, near South Africa, that whole area. What do they have? A bunch of meteorites. What did we see in the scriptures? That hailstones, which we can call meteorites, fell and killed a ton of people. And I can go on and on and on and on and on. So, you know, as I mentioned, family, there's a lot going on here. We've been lied to for generations. The world has been lied to hide a group of people, to steal our inheritance. And now we're awakening to who we are. See, there's a Kericho or Jericho in Kenya. There's a in Getty or Getty also near Kenya. There is just so much. So look, family, I'm gonna leave it here because it's been about an hour. Go to Hebrew Sphere, go to the group, look at the information, and as you find your own evidence, as you find out new information, post it in this thread. Add to the information. Okay. So there's just so many biblically based places all over Sub-Saharan Africa. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And when you look at, as I mentioned, the scriptures seems to validate this, right? Not only does the scriptures validate this, some of the historical books validate this. Some of the maps validate this. So what I want is this, okay? All of you all who aren't COINTELPRO, if you're not COINTELPRO and you just fooling with our minds and you believe America is our land, you need to do what I'm doing right here. You need to bring your evidence, show your people groups and their traditions and their histories, how they interface with all the different people around them, how the landmass lines up with what you see in the scriptures, how they got to Egypt, where's the Cushites that you're talking about, because you believe America is our homeland. Where's the Cushites? Where the Hamites? Where the Perizzites? Where the Jebusites? I can show you that. I need you to do what I'm doing. I need you to prove to me that America is our homeland. If you cannot do that, then you're foolish. If you can't do that, then you're foolish. Look in the mirror and say, look, a fool. Because if you don't have no evidence, if you cannot do this, if you cannot prove it, then you're believing it for no reason at all. You are deceived. That's why I say you're either deceived or you're COINTELPRO. So family, there's a lot of prophecies happening. You know, the Most High coming to get his people. We know it. We see it. Okay. Now, one thing I want you all to do, family, you got to be careful out there. Okay, because especially the men, I mean the women too. But these cops are on the kill. They're on the hunt. But the Most High coming for them. But y'all got to be smart. You got to stay out of certain situations. You can't just act like you're a normal citizen, because you're not, because the rules don't apply to you. Okay? So understand, all of this knowledge that's coming forth now is for a reason. It's because we're going home. I don't care what nobody else says. I look at the evidence, I look at the scriptures, I look at the prophecies, and I'm like, the Most High coming. That's all I can see. So look up and lift up your head, Israel, for your redemption draweth nigh. And I want to thank you all, family, for the support. I want to thank you, Dallas Judah, for your gift. And love your family with the love of the Messiah. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending.